It's a question that has grabbed hold of the headlines recently and one that challenges our emotional state. Is our society too sensitive? From heavier topics like race and religion to everyday relationships and social reactions, do we try too hard? Do we care too much? Some argue social media makes our lives all too accessible, putting our problems out there for everyone to see, but should we really expect everyone to understand and to empathize? Studio 5 contributor Dr. Julie Hanks is the owner of Wasatch Family Therapy. Now, as a therapist, you come in on the high marks with sensitivity. That's what makes you such a great therapist.
Yes.
But looking out there, do you think our society might be a little too sensitive?
Overall, no.
No.
No. I think we are still more insensitive. Like, we lean more toward the insensitive.
You think there's still room to improve?
Yeah, I do. You seem surprised.
I do think social media is changing the game a little bit because we are so out there, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm thinking of topics like, you know, infertility. That comes to mind. I think we just expect everyone to be so sensitive because they know what we're going through and they know what we're dealing with. Not that sensitivity is a bad thing.
Right,
but there's an expectation there.
That people should, yeah. But I think there's a balance, right? So I think we could also be more inclusive in the language we use, in knowing that our view is not the world's view.
We're not the bubble that shapes the conversation.
In both ways, right? So you can't expect someone to always know what's going on for you, but it's like we can't expect, like, we just live our lives and, you know, we don't care what's going on with other people. If you're offended, it's your problem.
Right.
So there's kind of this balance. Yeah.
Are some people just naturally more easily offended than others? Yeah,
there are some temperaments that are highly sensitive to cues from other people. Maybe their body is more reactive, like higher anxiety, or like for me, I mean, my husband, he doesn't get it because he's not at all. But he's downstairs working in the basement, and like I am reading him, even though I'm upstairs. He's like, "What? I'm not even talking to you." I'm like, "But I'm reading
I know.
you. I know." Anyway, so it can be a blessing or a curse or both.
Is this a disorder? I remember reading something about HSP, highly sensitive person.
So it's not a disorder. It's someone has named kind of this cluster of sensitivities, and sometimes when you name it, it kind of gives people permission to go, "Oh yeah, that describes me, I'm okay." It's kind of a validating process, but it's not considered a mental health disorder or anything like that. But someone has named it, written a book or two, and it's the thing now.
It's out there. It is out there. Well, you've come up with 5 questions that we can ask ourselves. We want to emphasize this is kind of a look in the mirror scenario.
Right. I've noticed a lot of people blame. It's easy to take anything and turn it to other people. They're so easily offended. But this is about looking at yourself. Are you? Not kind of judging whether other people are.
Okay, let's jump in. Question number 1, is this an ongoing pattern? So am I constantly or occurringly offended?
Yeah, so watching for patterns is really important, because if you tend to, over a long period of time, frequently feel sad because you're left out of social events, that may be some wound or something that you need to look at, some core belief that you're kind of somehow recreating so you can learn something. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and that applies to a lot of different situations, right?
A lot.
Those self-patterns.
If you feel criticized a lot, and that's in multiple relationships, that's a theme, that's probably something for you to look at, that you're kind of bringing out in other people. Not that you're to blame, but it's a place to learn and grow about yourself.
A place to start, for sure. Question number 2, is there more to the story?
There's always more to the story.
Always.
Yes, there's always more to the story. And I think for me, as a therapist, that's been one of the best gifts, is I get to hear the whole story. You know, where we kind of all present like, oh, we're fine and everything's put together. And I get to hear the real stories, the pain, the sadness, you know, things that people are carrying with them. It can be heavy. And so it's helped me to kind of cut people slack, because I can make up this story that makes it make sense.
About that other person.
Yeah, even if it's not true, it helps me.
Calms you down.
Yeah, like if they say something that's insensitive, it's like, gosh, they're, you know, for all I know, that's what I say, for all I know, they were just diagnosed with cancer, for all I know. You know,
that's actually a really helpful game, so to speak, for all I know, and tell yourself a story.
Right, and then it kind of takes it off of like, oh my gosh, you know, I'm so offended. It's like, you know, maybe there's a place for empathy here. I mean, sometimes sometimes it's good to be offended. I don't want to say like you should never ever be offended. No, some things are offensive and you need to go knock it off and set a boundary. Yeah. So it's not like being offended is bad. I mean, it's a tool like anything else.
And that question, what is there more to the story, kind of gets at the benefit of the doubt, right? Giving people, we've talked about that, giving people the benefit of the doubt.
Right.
Question number 3, what do I gain for remaining offended?
Yeah, so this is an interesting question because there are payoffs for our responses and our beliefs. And so, for example, if we have a core belief that I'm not good enough, so say I have that core belief, then it's going to be hard for me to give that up. And I will interpret things in ways that allow me to maintain that core belief that I'm never good enough.
That becomes a filter for everything.
Right. Does that?
Yes.
And so even though it's uncomfortable to feel not good enough, and I have actually felt that way before, so I know, but it's hard to, we like the familiar more than we like something that's less painful and unfamiliar.
Even if the familiar is a negative.
Yeah,
Isn't that weird?
And so we want to think, okay, am I holding on to something? Am I wanting to be right about my sister-in-law? I think she's so much better than everyone else. Okay, so if I want to hold on to that, like that's a gain. I get to be right. I get to feel justified in being offended. And so
that's a good
payoff.
That's a good question. About a minute left. Question number 4, what do I gain for letting go of the offense? So kind of the opposite. There could be something to gain by just saying goodbye.
Right.
And number 5, what do I need to resolve this?
Yeah, so sometimes if we're offended, we can just resolve it within ourselves, right? Just kind of talk ourselves through it. You know, they didn't mean it. Tell ourselves a backstory that makes sense. Sometimes a conversation would be helpful to resolve it, right? Because whether you are easily offended or not, the point is really, it's not good to carry it around for the rest of your life. Let's resolve it. So maybe have a conversation, clarify, set a boundary. I've had clients write a letter to the person and rip it up and never give it to them, just to kind of get it out of you and clear that space for more positive parts of your life.
Good questions. And not just for the topic of, you know, offended or sensitivity, but in general, just to look inside and see where you're at and what you can do to reshape the situation. Julie, you're awesome. Thank you.
Thanks,
hey, you have an e-course online available that people can sign up for.
Yeah, the Burnout Cure e-course based on my book, and I'm really excited to get that going. So it's on drjuliehanks.com.
What a great opportunity to stay in your jammies and learn from home, right?
I know.
Improve yourself in the comfort of your own living room. Thanks again, Julie.
Thanks, Brooke.